Hey, everybody. I just got off with Nicolle Wallace. We had a chance to talk about the Fourth Circuit ruling from Judge Wilkinson, who is a Reagan appointee, a rock-ribbed conservative judge who issued an absolutely barn burner of a ruling pushing back against the Trump administration for their skirting of the Supreme Court when it comes to the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And, in this clip that I'm about to show you, I talk a little bit about one of my favorite lines from this ruling. But more broadly, essentially, the judge is saying that this is a very simple case, and we cannot stash someone in a foreign country after a mistake has been made. There's a line in the ruling that is essentially like, if the administration admits they've done something wrong, which they have, then shouldn't that wrong be righted? And maybe there are other issues with this person. They deserve the due process of the law. So it was a very clear, very simple ruling. And we can joke about how at times it feels like the judge is talking to the administration like they're an elementary school student. And so it is quite the smackdown. We'll now see what the administration does with it. So up next in this clip, you're going to see me talk more about Judge Wilkinson's circuit court rebuke of Trump. And then after that, I also get into a little bit the situation with Harvard and Lisa Murkowski, and how we're seeing certain elements of people pushing back against the Trump administration for their illiberal, it's the nicest way you could put it, threatening, menacing retribution attempts. So stick around for both of those clips. Please subscribe to the feed. I'll be back soon. Appreciate y'all. Peace.
I think a lot about Rogan and the manosphere, Tim, and I've made this point that there's nothing, we were led to believe, because of the narrative dominance that the right had, that something about left-wing politics was emasculating. Nothing is more emasculating than losing your the power to purchase, and losing your ability to afford things, and losing the ability to buy toys or car seats or sporting equipment or clothes for your family. So at a substantive level, in terms of blowing up the narrative dominance, the lived reality that everyone in this country is going to experience, including the men and women under the spell of the manosphere, is not going to match with the disinformation on the economic front. And then on this idea of due process, it's incredible to listen to the people that showed up at Chuck Grassley's town hall meeting in Iowa. He looked like he knew them all on a first name basis, and they're shouting at Chuck Grassley, like, why can't you just bring, even before this unbelievable ruling and this eloquent sort of poetry from a Reagan-appointed judge about the rule of law, Chuck Grassley's voters said the same thing 2 days ago.
Absolutely. I think that's right. And look, on this ruling, on the narrow side of it, I'm unlike Andrew. I'm not usually fangirling circuit court rulings, but I liked it four simple words, which was facilitate is an active verb, which was, again, the judge talking like a fourth grader to the administration, which is, we said facilitate. That means facilitate, like do something, bring this person back. And that is simple, right? And so that's what I think, to Angela's point, it's interesting. The Rogan case, Rogan was talking about some of the other Venezuelans that have been sent to Nicolle, particularly, the makeup artist Andre is the one he was focused on. And that's what I do think. Yeah. And similarly at the Grassley town hall, some of them were talking about Abrego Garcia, but some more broadly. That's why I think broadening this out, is very important and critical. And just like making the simple argument that in this country, we don't take people off the street because of their tattoos and send them to a foreign gulag where they have no recourse for recovery. There will be some people that disagree with that, but that remains a majority position, even in the country that elected Donald Trump. And I think talking about that is a better place to be for, politically for some of the folks than getting bogged down into the details on this. Legally, it's a better place to get bogged down in the details on Abrego Garcia, and as this judge pointed out. So I think both of those elements are true. I think there are, some cracks here, and I think that's like the opportunity. But but in a really dark story.
Bret Stephens has been doing these conversations with the New York Times editorial page where it's like watching someone. I understand why people watch the reality shows, right, where people are in therapy. It's like watching him sort of unpack his own openness from about 8 weeks ago to what Trump was going to do in the second term. And this morning, with Pat Healy, I think the opinion editor there, he takes us on. And Bret's been really former conservative, been very vocal about anti-Semitism. And he says basically what Angelo just outlined, that it's not about anti-Semitism. And college campuses should combat anti-Semitism in response to their own student body and their parents. But as Bret sort of awakens to this new reality on the pages of the New York Times, I think Angelo reveals a bottom line truth about Trump, that is a cover story. That is not the aim, because the tactics certainly do not mirror up with that as an objective.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take your word about that, because that's not my reality show of choice, the Bret Stephens New York Times show.
I'm telling you, let me just, okay, because now I'm on a detour. I read them as my own sort of effort to understand anyone justified. And Bret and David French and Ross, somebody did this thing, and it went on for pages and pages. And I read it took me, and I read, and it was about 8 weeks ago. And I haven't actually. I mean, David French has been a very vocal critic of all of the attacks on the rule of law, but Bret was a little more, came around a little more slowly, but he's now come around and is basically saying that what Trump is doing is a basic affront to the rule of law and has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. My only point is that whether you're in the media, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, nobody thinks that the attacks on universities are about combating anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I welcome everybody on board. And it's very obviously not about combating anti-Semitism. And the one thing, just kind of listening to all the other panelists here, that really jumped out at me was at the end of what Luke was talking about, how they're like one of the other threats now from the administration is that Harvard, won't get visas for foreign students that are coming that want to come to the university. Like, does that include Jewish students, right? Like, if this is about anti-Semitism, do Jewish students from Israel or from Europe, are they also banned from coming to Harvard in the name of fighting anti-Semitism? The whole thing is just preposterous. And it's worse than preposterous, really. The whole thing is kind of reminiscent of China. And it sounds like Chinese, right? That the government could say to a university, you can't have students from a certain country or from anywhere else in the world. You can't make this choice for yourself. It is so far outside the American tradition, that it's really, kind of impossible to come up with an apt, comparison, at least from our lifetimes, of something that has happened domestically.
Tim, we also have Senator Murkowski sort of finally giving a soundtrack to the reality that Republicans have been living under for 9 years. It's too little too late, but it is a marvel to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I'm sure I have a mixed view on it, right? On the one hand, I'm happy she's saying it. On the other hand, I'm happy that there have been a couple times she's spoken out. She voted against Patel and against Hegseth, I think. So 2. I would have voted against many more of the cabinet secretaries, but there were 2. And she speaks out against Trump from time to time, which is better than basically all 52 of her other colleagues, except maybe McConnell, just of late. And so that all is good. The other side of it, though, is frustrating, because it's kind of like, why are you a hostage in this party?
Yeah.
I mean, there are other independents. Couldn't you join Angus King, who's an independent from Maine? Yeah. You could create an independent caucus where you could feel, more free to criticize the administration, to speak out. Like, if you're that scared, if you are scared to speak out, and the reason that you're scared to speak out is the leader of your party, like, maybe you're not in the right party. I guess that just might be something for Senator Murkowski to consider. But I do think that she's speaking something that is true about a lot of, or maybe not a lot anymore. At one time, a lot of Republicans in the Hill, and now a handful of them. Hey, YouTube fam, if you want to support the Bulwark, the best way to do it is by becoming a YouTube Bulwark Plus member. The Bulwark is truly independent. We have no corporate overlords. We're not settling any dumb lawsuits with Trump. By joining, you help support our work, and you can get a bunch of perks right here on this platform. Ad-free content, bonus videos, live streams, and some emojis of me, which I guess some people want. So come join, come hang out, become a Bulwark YouTube Plus member,
and I'll be seeing you in the comments. So behave.